encounter I had with Toastmasters involved Mary Lou. She was giving a workshop on storytelling of all things. And I attended. It was the first time, and I was assured that I did not have to speak. That turned out not to be true. I was tricked because I was in a group of 2 other very experienced Toastmasters, and they said, "Why don't you get up and tell your story?" So my story involved my journey with karate. I absolutely loved the show Kung Fu with David Carradine as a kid. I thought that he was the coolest. He was so peaceful, and yet he pulled out his skills when necessary. I never got to take karate or any kind of martial arts as a kid, and it wasn't until 10 years ago that I actually got to join karate. I had signed up my 3 youngest children, bought their gis, paid their annual fees, and month 2, I was the only one to return. I'm not going to force my children to do something that they don't want to do if that's not their thing. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I would become a black belt. I've actually earned multiple black belts in karate, and I have my black belt in weapons, or kabuto. Some of the weapons, the very first one that you learn is the bow. The bow is just a stick. So the thing about Okinawan weapons is that they're actually non-weapons. Karate means empty hands. The Japanese had taken over Okinawa and they forbade weapons. So the Okinawans developed karate, empty hand. And their weapons, as I said, are non-weapons. So the bow is a long stick that can be used as a stick for carrying water. You can have pails on the end of it. There's a tonfa. I think it's like a police stick, you see it, but the tonfa was used for grinding. They have the sai, which is kind of like a little pitchfork. They also have teko. That's another of the weapons that I study. It's kind of like brass knuckles with points on them, and those were actually the stirrups for the horses. The other weapon that I study, which is an actual weapon, is the katana, which is the traditional Japanese sword. And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that I would be doing these things. As my dear friend Carmen said, "You're so feminine, no one would think that you do that." And she was just kind enough to film me doing knuckle push-ups on a hard surface in there, because when you break things, you break them with your first 2 knuckles. And so we do knuckle push-ups in order to break down the bone and recalcify it, and it makes it stronger. So that when you have to punch something, I'm sure you've seen in the movies, they get into a fight, right? Oh, that won't happen if you do knuckle push-ups. So take a lesson and start training your knuckles just in case you might need them.